Well, I essentially just flushed $500 down the frickin' toilet today on this episode of
The Clutch Trucker Channel.
Clutch Trucker, filmed before a live and fuzzy studio audience. Yep, that's Rusty, the world-famous meatball dog. Hey YouTube, Clutch Trucker here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Clutch Trucker Channel. Broke down again. Yeah, it's funny because right after I finally got repaired for the second time today, I saw a comment pop up from somebody said, well, Clutch must have broken down again because it's been like a week since he did the last video. It's only been 3 days. I did one Friday night. This is Monday night. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? 3, okay. But yeah, broke down twice today on my way up to Glen Rock to pick up the lignite. And yeah, so I essentially threw away $500. I've been watching reruns of Monk, so as he always likes to say, here's what happened. So last night, after I delivered at the Walmart distribution center in Cheyenne, then I drove up to a rest area just north of Wheatland, Wyoming, a good place to park. And then that only gives me just over an hour to get to Glen Rock. And then I get past the really windy area when I'm empty at night, where the winds tend not to be as bad. So I got parked in overnight. This Cascadia, and I'll talk more about this later on, has this optimized idle thing. So if the batteries get low, the truck automatically starts itself. Well, it did that, and then I'm trying to sleep, and all these alarms go off. And I look up on here on the screen, there's a big red light saying, you know, coolant temperature way too high, blah, 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 and, you know, engine shutting down. So I'm like, well, that's not good. And then, so once daylight comes around, I check out what's going on. Yeah, a lot of coolant had boiled over because it had gotten way too hot. And my main belt, which runs the water pump, the alternator, and all that, shredded, torn apart, fell off. So I start making calls, and forgive my hair and everything, it was hot today, and of course I was in the truck really most of the day without any air conditioning. Anyway, so I start making calls, and seeing if anybody nearby would have the belt, and of course nobody nearby had it at all. They had it in Cheyenne at the Freightliner. And I called this Platte County repair that I had to call last summer, for those of you who have followed my channel a long time, when I had that whole fuel tank issue. Remember where the fuel line had dropped, the crossover line, and cooked itself on the exhaust and all that, sealed off one side, so I was only pulling fuel from one side. Well, I called them again, and they came out, and they were going to have to drive all the way back to Cheyenne to get the part, and then come up to me, which would have cost a ton of money. Then the service technician, the guy who met me last summer when I was on the side of the road, Kai was his name, said, hey, I found the belt. We have one right here. So he just brought it up, and so he got up there pretty quick. And it took him about an hour and a half to change that belt out, because it was a serpentine belt that goes over all these pulleys and really hard to get to. But he got it done, and so, okay, I thought, oh, great, all is well. Now, and I had him bring a couple gallons of coolant, because I had lost a lot, because it had all boiled over, because it got too hot. And so when it gets too hot, then over on that coolant reservoir, there's a pressure relief, and it'll just piss out the coolant. So I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. So now I get back on the road. This is like maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon at this point, by the time all this has happened. And I'm driving back up, heading to Glen Rock. I quickly made a couple of bologna and cheese sandwiches because I hadn't had anything to eat yet today. And so I'm driving up. I'm halfway through my sandwich. Ding, 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 ding. Lights and alarms and trouble and hair and blah. Yeah, just coming up the hill on I-25 just before the Douglas exit, and all this goes off. And luckily, this truck does have an override engine switch for the engine shutdown, where you can buy yourself a little more time instead of getting stuck on the side of the road. I made it here to the Broken Wheel truck stop in Douglas, and there is Bud's field service, tires, and truck service repair. And of course, I pulled up in front of the pumps at the Broken Wheel, lifted the hood, and you have coolant everywhere. The coolant line now had popped off of the bottom of the reservoir. Probably the belt had snapped it and hit it or whatever. It didn't break it, it just pulled it down, but I lost like all my coolant. So I walk over to the shop and I say, look, do you guys do more than tires? Do you do repairs? And they said, yeah. And they came over and looked at it. And then they filled up my coolant, and they said, all right, look, yeah, it's the tensioner is what the problem is. He said he's seen this before. tons of the DD15s and the DD13s, which is what I have in this truck. He said, yeah, after a while, those things will start to tip a little bit. When they tip, it basically pushes the belt off, and the belt starts to get shredded, and of course then falls off. And he said, yeah, you can replace the belt again, but just like happened this morning where I only made it about 45 miles, and it blew off again, he said, you need to get that tensioner. So he goes back in the shop after they filled me up with the coolant so I can at least move a couple hundred feet to drop the trailer, and then I get on the phone again. I was on the phone for like 30 minutes, at least, maybe more, with a Freightliner in Casper. It's also a Floyd's, where I do have an account with Floyd's, so that means that I can at least push off paying for that part for another 30 days. But we kept going back and forth about which one it actually is. And I'm looking at pictures, and I'm like, that doesn't look like the one I have, and blah, blah, blah. I sent him a picture. And, there's a newer version of that doesn't have the spring on it. It's a hydraulic tensioner, but it's the one that's supposed to work. So I kept saying, are we sure this is the one that's supposed to work with this truck? I'm new to this truck. I'm still trying to figure everything out. And then I said, I need the belt. I know they have it in Cheyenne. Do you have it? Oh, yes, we have it. Yes, no problem. Then the guy there at Bud's Field Service is heading to Casper to go get the part. Well, the parts, that and the belt. And then I got a text from the guy in Casper saying, oh, no, we looked it up, and no, we don't have that belt. We thought we did, but we don't. Sorry. So I had to start calling all around in Casper and finally found it at a Fleet Pride and told the people at the Freightliner, tell the guy when he gets there he's got to go to Fleet Pride for the belt. So he finally makes it back. At this point, it's 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 p.m. And he gets me into the shop. He's got to repair a tire on another truck. And then he gets to my job, and he does the repair, and it all seems to be repaired now. And he said, yeah, I've seen this a million times. Once those tensioners, it's a bad design. I'm like, well, no shock there. It's always the people who design the stuff are not mechanics or not truckers, and not people who have to work on it. And he said, yeah, those fail all the time, and when they do, you can throw a new belt on there and it'll spit it off. He said there was one time where they put a new belt on, and because the guy didn't want to replace the tensioner, and within 5 minutes after starting the truck back off, it spit the belt back off. So I'm glad I did both, but the first job, because it was a road call, $525. And then I made it 30 miles up the road, and the same thing happened, so I had to buy the belt again and get the tensioner. So this whole job was $701, not to mention I got to pay Freightliner for that tensioner, which is like $230. At least I get about 30 days before I got to pay them for that. So essentially, that first $525, I basically flushed down the frickin' toilet. I'm not happy, Bob. So yeah, I had 2 good weeks in a row where I made about $3,000 each. So of course, that's when, I have to eat into the actually trying to make some money again. Now I spent a total of $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $1,100, over $1,126 today. I didn't lose my load. I can still go pick it up tomorrow in Glen Rock and deliver Wednesday by 2:30 p.m. in Rothschild, Wisconsin. Problem is, now I got to do it in just over a day. I've done that before. It's a really tight run. It can be done, but it's brutal. So I'm hoping this actually fixed it. The newer tensioner, it's a tensioner for both belts, for both the fan belt, which is a wider 10-rib belt, and the smaller 8-rib belt, which goes around the water pump and the alternator and the AC compressor. So it's feeding 3 different things, and it goes all over the place. That's one big difference from this engine compared to my old engine, which was a Series 60 Detroit. This is a DD13 Detroit. The water pump on the Series 60 was gear driven straight out of the engine. This water pump is driven by the belt. Kind of stupid, in my opinion. Again, people who designed it not thinking. So if you throw a belt, well, all of a sudden now you have your coolant temperature shoots up and your engine will shut down. Where on my other truck, if I threw that belt, all I'd lose is the alternator and the air conditioning. But I could keep driving. But no, somebody decided, let's put it all on that one belt. Alright, so we pick up in Glen Rock tomorrow. Hopefully we can make that work. That means I can't do another load probably till Thursday. So I'm probably going to lose money this week after after flushing $525 down the toilet earlier today. Oh, joy! Well, thanks for tuning in for that one. Yeah, just a quick one. Just wanted to throw that up because, God, boy, that just chaps my ass. Throwing away $500. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please like and comment and share and all that. Thumbs up, yada yada. Clutch Trucker on Instagram, Clutch Trucker on Twitter, X, Clutch Trucker 5 on TikTok, and as always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch and Rusty, out. Roger! Aren't you going to introduce me to your lovely female companion here? I'm Edwina Cutwater. Yeah, hairy knuckles for a chick. All right, you're very excited because you know you're going to get a bacon strip now, right? Isn't that it? Oh, excited dog! Excited dog! All right, silly dog, come here. There you go. Yeah, we're down to just the bacon strip pieces, little chunks, because the bag is getting low. Yep. We need to get another bag of bacon strips for you, don't we? So, got enough to last a little bit longer. Just little small pieces, though. Oh, yes. Happy dog, regardless. They all taste the same, don't they, Rusty? All right. You all done? Happy dog.